Good morning. Today is Wednesday, December 25th, 2025. Getting ahead of myself, 2024. And let me be one of the first people today to say to you, Merry Christmas. This is the Urban Hope Refuge Morning Devotions. We're continuing our reading today from the 2024 Daily Bible Reading Guide published by the American Bible Society. For the month of December, we have been reading under the theme, God's Guiding Word, Joy. I'm deviating from the Bible reading guide today, being that it is Christmas around the world. I want to lift my voice today in sharing the Nativity Story. The Nativity Story, also known as the Christmas story or the Nativity of Jesus, is a story that tells of the conception and the birth of Jesus Christ. Throughout the many centuries of Christianity, the Christmas story has developed into a yearly tradition and is central to the celebration of Christians or the celebration of Christmas in the Christian faith. Over many centuries, the story of the Nativity has changed and developed depending on which culture and people were telling the story. I want to tell the story from the perspective of the scriptures. And here is the Christmas story. Mary and Joseph were espoused to be married. They were living in Nazareth around 2,000 years ago. One night, Mary was visited by the angel Gabriel, who was the archangel. Gabriel explained that God was going to send his son to earth for mankind and that Mary would soon have a baby. That baby would be named Jesus and would be God's son. So Mary made a visit to her relatives, Elizabeth and Zachariah. After the angel Gabriel informed Mary that she would be having a baby, she traveled to Judah to visit her cousin Elizabeth and her husband Zachariah. Interestingly enough, Mary was not the only one who was pregnant under unusual circumstances. Elizabeth and Zachariah had been married for many years, and they were very old, but they had never been blessed with children. Then one day the angel of God appeared to Zachariah while he was in the temple and said to him, Do not be afraid, Zachariah. Your prayer has been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear a son, and you are to call him John, according to Luke 1:13. This was a huge shock for Zachariah, as he and his wife were very old at this point and had given up all hope of having children. The angel did not stop there, but told Zachariah that his son, John, would be a crucial part of the coming of the Messiah, that is, Jesus Christ. The angel detailed that John would be highly favored in the eyes of the Lord, full of the Holy Spirit, and would aid in guiding many people to God. When Mary arrived at uh, um, Elizabeth and Zachariah's house, the baby leaped inside of Elizabeth, and she was instantly filled with the Holy Spirit. This fulfilled the angel's prediction. With this, Elizabeth immediately knew that Mary was pregnant with the Son of God, and they rejoiced together. As you can imagine, it came as quite a shock to Joseph to find out that his fiancée, Mary, was having a baby, and he was not the father. Joseph was a good man, but he struggled to believe that Mary's story came from the angel's visit, as it seemed so unlikely. This is where God intervened in Joseph's life through a dream. One night, as Joseph was sleeping, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and delivered a message to him. The message was this: Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary home as your wife, because what is conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will give birth to a son, and you are to give him the name Jesus, because he will save his people from their sins, according to Matthew chapter 1, verses 20 through 21. Joseph woke up from this dream and believed that what the angel had told him was true. So he followed the angel's instruction and married Mary. Mary and Joseph sold their goods in Nazareth, taking with them only what they could carry, as well as their donkey. Mary rode on the donkey over the hills of Galilee, and Joseph walked beside her. The journey would have been long and difficult, traveling through long stretches of desert and harsh landscapes. Eventually, Mary and Joseph would have seen the candlelights of Bethlehem on the horizon. Unfortunately, when Mary and Joseph arrived in Bethlehem, it was incredibly busy. All the rooms at the inns, hotels, had already been filled. Mary was very pregnant at this time and needed to rest. Likely, they met not likely, but they met a kind innkeeper who let Mary and Joseph stay in his stable for the night. Mary gave birth to Jesus that night in the stable. She wrapped the newborn baby in a cloth and laid him to sleep in a manger filled with hay. The manger, the trough from which the animals ate. She filled it with hay, wrapped him in a cloth, the Bible said, in swaddling clothes, and laid him in the manger. While Mary and Joseph and the newborn Jesus slept in the stable, some shepherds on a hillside that overlooked the city of Bethlehem saw a bright star in the sky. As they watched the bright star shining over the city, an angel came down from the sky and told the shepherds that the Son of God had been born in the city, and they should go to him. The shepherds left their herds and came down from the hillside to find the newborn baby. They visited Mary, Joseph, and Jesus at the stable and knelt before him to pledge their love to the Son of God. Now, far away in the east, there were wise men also who saw a bright light in the sky. These wise men were kings from the countries far to the east of Bethlehem. They took the bright star as a sign that a new king had been born, and they began to follow that star. The wise men followed the star to Jerusalem, where King Herod ruled. They assumed that the new king had been born to Herod. They spoke to Herod and asked to see the child that would be the first king of the Jews. The news troubled Herod, who believed himself to be the King of Kings. These wise men left Jerusalem to continue their search. Eventually, the three kings reached Bethlehem, knelt down before the baby, and offered gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. That night, they all shared a dream from an angel. They were warned not to tell King Herod where Jesus was. King Herod hears about Jesus' birth. He only grew angrier when the three kings did not return with news of Jesus' location. He was worried about being overthrown and ordered the soldiers to go to Bethlehem and kill all the boy babies. Joseph had a dream of Egypt, and he took Mary and Jesus there, knowing that they would be safe. They would be safe from the reach of King Herod. Let me share with you that I am so grateful today to know this nativity story, to know this story of the birth of Jesus, because I know from a little child, from Robert and Elsie Ashe in a little town in North Carolina, about this Jesus who was born. And I, just as the shepherds and just as the wise men, accepted the birth of Jesus Christ, knowing that he is the Son of God and that he will give me a right to everlasting life. This is the story of Christmas. And the songwriter said, "Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King." I am bringing you this morning devotion today from Niagara Falls. That's the bit of background that you see of Niagara Falls as the Johnson family is celebrating Christmas here today. So now let me again, with great joy and excitement over the birth of Jesus as we celebrate, wish you a very Merry Christmas, and also encourage you, even though it's Christmas Day and families are together all around the world celebrating, let me continue to encourage you to pray your way through the day, walk with the King, and be a blessing. Merry Christmas.